All right, welcome back, everyone. If you're, knee-deep in building bespoke software, you already know the landscape is constantly shifting.
Constantly.
But when you're handling protected health information, PHI, well, the ground isn't just shifting, it feels more like a high-stakes earthquake, right?
Huh. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And you've already been with us digging into operational compliance in Module 4, getting a solid handle on keeping the day-to-day running smoothly.
Building that foundation.
Exactly. So today we're building on that. We're drawing some really practical, actionable stuff from Special Man Academy's HIPAA Compliance for Software Development Organizations course.
Right.
And what's great about this resource is where it comes from. Special Man Academy, it's the learning hub of Special Man Global Solution.
Yeah, they're actually doing this stuff.
Precisely. A software development company that lives and breathes bringing tech ideas to life. So you're getting wisdom from the actual trenches, not just theory.
Which makes a huge difference in how applicable it is.
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is to give you, the professionals actually building these healthcare software solutions, a kind of shortcut.
A shortcut to what, exactly?
To building and sustaining a really robust HIPAA compliance program. We're going beyond just the daily ops we covered before. We're focusing on the tangible stuff, the critical documentation that forms your bedrock, right?
Okay, the paperwork, but the important paperwork.
Yes. And the continuous efforts, the things you need to do day in, day out to stay compliant. And crucially, how you prove it all.
The validation,
Ah,
audits and such.
exactly. External validation, audits. Think of this as your essential guide to, mastering these pieces.
And it's so vital because, honestly, we're talking about way more than just ticking regulatory boxes here. These things, documentation, ongoing work, validation, they're foundational. They build trust with your clients, they make your systems more resilient, and ultimately, they fuel growth in this really competitive healthcare tech market.
That's a great point.
As we always say, knowledge is one thing, but understanding and applying it, especially when you're drowning in information, that critical thinking is key.
Absolutely. This is about sharpening that edge.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Where should we start? I guess documentation seems like the logical place.
Definitely. You got to start with the foundation.
Right. So the real backbone of HIPAA compliance has to be your documented policies and procedures. Seems obvious, but...
But it's where so many fall down. They're not just shelfware, right?
Yeah.
They have that dual purpose.
Exactly. Guiding your teams, guiding the actual development and operations, and serving as concrete evidence when the auditors come knocking. But the key insight, I think, isn't just having policies, it's making sure they're living documents. So many places, they just don't integrate updates into their dev sprints or deployment cycles.
Yeah, they become paper tigers. They look good on paper, but don't reflect reality.
Totally. So what are the absolute must-haves in there?
Well, you need the basics covered comprehensively. Clear privacy and security policies, how you actually handle PHI.
Yeah.
Formal designation of responsibilities, who's the privacy officer, security officer.
Got it.
Then, robust access controls. Who gets to see what, and how is that enforced? Incident response procedures. What happens when, inevitably, something goes wrong?
Okay.
Breach notification processes. How do you notify individuals and HHS? Contingency planning. How do you keep PHI systems running in a disaster? Meticulous vendor management. Your business associate agreements. How you vet vendors.
Right. DAs are huge.
Crucial. And don't forget data retention and disposal policies. How long you keep PHI and how you securely get rid of it. For a software team, this isn't just a manual. It's about how these are baked into the code, the access systems, the automated workflows.
So thinking practically, maybe less a spreadsheet and more like a GRC platform, or even just a well-structured wiki or document repo, but version controlled, like using Git.
Exactly. Something dynamic.
You could have specific policies like secure coding for PHI or automated vulnerability scan procedures, linked right to the team's responsible review dates, maybe even tied into your CI/CD pipeline for revalidation.
That's the ideal state. That connects compliance directly to engineering and leads to best practices. Automated annual reviews, updates triggered by changes, policies accessible, version controlled.
And the proof of communication.
Critical. Verifiable evidence everyone got it and acknowledged it. Digital signatures, LMS tracking, something solid.
So here's a question then. How does it all fall apart if those policies exist? Maybe they're even well written, but they're not kept current, or people don't really know about the latest version, especially in fast-moving dev teams.
Well, that's the main pitfall, isn't it? Treating them as static. If your architecture changes, you adopt a new cloud service, pull in a new library that touches PHI. If the policy doesn't reflect that, it's useless. Worse, it creates that gap between policy and practice.
Which an auditor will spot immediately.
Instantly. The key is embedding policy review into your regular rhythm sprint reviews architecture meetings, making it a continuous conversation, not just, once a year thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Moving on from policies. Another huge documentation piece is the risk analysis.
Oh, it's absolutely vital. The security rule requires it, a documented assessment of threats and vulnerabilities to electronic PHI.
And you mentioned that's often the first thing auditors ask for.
Almost always. It shows you're thinking proactively about risk, and a proper one goes deep.
How deep?
You need an inventory of PHI systems. Map everything, microservices, databases, queues, third-party APIs, wherever PHI lives or flows.
Okay.
Then, rigorous risk identification. What could go wrong? Ransomware, 0 days, insider threats, misconfigurations. List them out. Followed by vulnerability assessment, where the current gaps may be found through SaaS pen tests.
So identify the assets, threats, and vulnerabilities.
Precisely. Then you evaluate the risk likelihood versus impact. What's the potential damage? How likely is it? That helps you prioritize. Then comes the mitigation plan. What are you doing about each risk? Specific controls, assigned owners, deadlines, often tied into your JIRA or issue tracker.
And it's not static, right?
Absolutely not. Periodic review is essential after major updates, incidents, or just regularly annually at a minimum.
So maybe an example. Instead of just a table, imagine using your GRC tool. It flags a cloud storage bucket with unencrypted PHI.
Okay, that's the asset and vulnerability.
Right. Threat. Unauthorized access via misconfiguration, mitigation, implement encryption, apply strict IAM policies, automate compliance checks in your ISC status, remediated, verified by scan, much more detailed.
Exactly. And you often visualize this with a risk matrix, likelihood versus impact, to see priorities at a glance.
So beyond just ticking the box, what are the sort of hidden benefits when a software team really treats risk analysis as this ongoing collaborative thing?
It forces that cross-functional conversation. Dev, ops, security, legal, product, they all have a piece of the puzzle. They uncover risks together that they'd miss in silos.
Ah, so it drives alignment.
Totally. It becomes a strategic tool, not just a compliance chore. It's your proof of proactive, ongoing risk management. Builds maturity, builds trust.
Got it. Okay, final documentation pillar, training records. IPPI says you have to train your people on safeguarding PHI regularly.
But just doing the training isn't enough.
Right. You need proof, meticulous records. It's a legal requirement, really.
Absolutely. And those records need specifics. Dates, attendees, the actual curriculum used, verification they attended, sign-ins, LMS logs.
What else?
The frequency, initial, periodic refreshers. And critically, remediation records. What did you do if someone missed training or didn't pass a quiz? You need documented follow-up.
It sounds comprehensive.
It has to be, to prove due diligence.
So a modern setup wouldn't just be an LMS, but maybe one tied into HR. Automatically enrolls new hires, sends reminders, tracks completion, generates those audit-ready reports easily.
That's the goal for scalability, yeah. And best practices. Keep records securely for at least 6 years. Automate reminders. And integrate it into onboarding and offboarding. Every employee, start to finish.
Beyond just avoiding fines, how can these detailed training records actually be a strategic asset? Could they, affect cyber insurance rates or help win deals?
Oh, absolutely. Good records signal a mature security posture. Insurers like that potentially lower premiums. For clients, especially in healthcare, it's a huge differentiator. Shows commitment.
Proof of due diligence again.
Yeah, exactly. Tangible proof. And internally, it helps you spot knowledge gaps before they cause a problem or a breach.
Okay, so that covers the big documentation pieces, policies, risk analysis, training records, foundational.
Yep, the bedrock.
But compliance isn't just about having the right documents, is it? It's an ongoing thing. You need activities to make sure it's all real and current.
Exactly. The documents are step one. Keeping them alive and reflecting reality, that's the continuous effort.
So first up, in ongoing activities, internal auditing. These are like proactive health checks you do on yourself.
Precisely. Systematic reviews to see if you're actually following your own policies and HIPAA rules. Different from external audits, the goal here is internal improvement. Catch things yourself first.
How do you actually do an internal audit effectively?
Well, you need key steps. Define the scope. What systems, code bases, departments are you looking at this time? Develop checklists based on HIPAA and your own policies.
Right.
Then you conduct interviews and reviews, talk to staff, see how things really work, and crucially, technical testing.
Like what?
Reviewing access logs, running vulnerability scans on code and infrastructure, maybe even simulated phishing or mock breach exercise on your apps. You also review the documentation itself. Is it current, complete?
Okay.
Finally, you need reporting and action plans. Summarize what you found, assign fixes with deadlines. Ideally, integrate those fixes right into your dev backlog or sprint planning.
So a practical example might be a SaaS company doing quarterly internal audits. Not just checking access logs, but maybe scanning code repos for secrets, checking cloud configs against security standards.
Exactly, embedding it into the DevSecOps flow.
Yep.
You can think of it as that circular audit cycle. Plan audit, report, remediate, re-audit. Continuous improvement.
That makes sense. I wonder, though, if you make internal audits feel less like a blame game and more like a learning process, especially for dev teams, does that help? Does it uncover more?
Oh, massively. A blame-free culture encourages transparency. Teams are way more likely to flag potential issues if they see it as learning, not punishment.
So you find things faster.
Find them faster, fix them faster. It boosts compliance and operational effectiveness. Builds that psychological safety too, which helps innovation.
Interesting. Okay, another ongoing thing. HIPAA isn't static. Laws change, interpretations change. Handling regulatory changes must be key.
Absolutely critical. You need a process. First, regulatory monitoring. Someone needs to own tracking, HHS-OCR, updates, state laws, etc.
Right. Assign responsibility.
Then, stakeholder alerts. How do you quickly tell engineering, product, legal, compliance when something relevant changes? That leads to policy and procedure updates, revising docs and controls.
And communicating that.
Yeah, that's change management. Telling staff, updating SOPs, documenting it all. And don't underestimate industry networking, talking to peers, consultants, staying plugged in.
So if OCR updates guidance on, say, securing PHI in serverless functions.
Your compliance lid flags it. They pull in cloud architects, DevOps. They review current setups, update SOPs, maybe schedule a quick training bite for relevant engineers, all documented, all pretty quick, agile response.
What's the real risk if a company is slow to adapt here? Is it just fines, or does it hit their reputation and ability to get contracts?
It's way beyond fines. You could lose clients if trust breaks down. You might not even be able to bid on contracts if your compliance isn't current. Having a defined, responsive process is vital for staying competitive and defensible. Clear ownership is key.
Makes sense. And sticking with ongoing efforts, continuous employee training. You said IBA requires periodic training, but best practice is more continuous.
Yeah, much more effective. Think adaptable, ongoing reinforcement, tailored to roles.
What does that look like in practice?
Lots of approaches. Modular e-learning, short, focused topics, easy to update. Role-based delivery, different content for engineers versus support, make it relevant.
Okay.
Micro-learning or Mudge's brief tips. Reminders in apps, quick quizzes maybe in Slack or during code reviews. Awareness campaigns focus on a topic for a month. Share anonymized examples.
Keep it fresh.
Exactly. And crucial, feedback loops. Ask staff what works. Track if the training actually improves behavior. Use that to refine content. Always track and remediate if people miss stuff.
I like that idea of embedding it like quick security scenario quizzes and sprint reviews, or linking code review comments back to IP principles.
Yes. Makes it part of the workflow. You could visualize it like a calendar, recurring themes, short modules, check-ins throughout the year, drip feed, don't force feed.
So how does doing it frequently in context help avoid that compliance fatigue you get with like the big annual mandatory training dump?
Yeah.
Does it build muscle memory?
Absolutely builds muscle memory,
Right.
creates that constant low-level awareness, integrating relevant bite-sized training into daily work, like a secure coding reminder during a pull request, helps people internalize it.
Makes it second nature.
Exactly. It becomes part of the engineering culture, an everyday priority, not just a dreaded chore.
Okay, great. So we've got docs, we've got ongoing activities, but how do we prove all this goodness to the outside world? Clients, regulators. That brings us to third-party validation.
Exactly. That's where audits come in.
Let's start with just selecting and preparing for them. Using third-party auditors gives that external stamp of approval, builds trust.
It does. When selecting, consider the type of audit. Do you need IP-specific or maybe a broader SOC 2 Type 2 for enterprise clients? Auditor qualifications matter hugely. Look for firms experienced in both healthcare and the software development lifecycle. Define the scope clearly, what circums, processes, time frame, and understand the timeline and cost.
And preparing for it, what's key there?
Do an internal self-assessment first. Find your own gaps before they do. Get your document preparation sorted policies, logs, BAAs, training records. Maybe use a secure portal for the auditors.
Stack prep too.
Crucial. Brief relevant staff so they know what to expect, how to provide evidence, and ensure evidence readiness, have logs and records ready to go. Automate collection if possible.
So running a mock audit internally first sounds like a really good idea. Use your GRC tool, test your evidence gathering.
Definitely. Strong internal prep makes the real audit smoother, presents you better, lets you fix things early. One common mistake I see: underestimating evidence gathering time.
Pulling logs, code snippets.
Exactly. Takes time if you haven't planned for it. Automating collection where possible is a lifesaver.
Okay. Now, a big one for software companies, SOC2 Type 2 versus Comma 8 audits. They both relate to data protection, but they're different beasts, right?
Totally different, though, overlapping. Let's break it down. SOC2 Type 2 is an attestation report, usually from a CPA firm. It looks at your controls over time, typically 6-12 months, against criteria like security, availability, confidentiality, etc.
It's widely recognized.
Very widely, especially in TOS. Signals strong overall controls, not just healthcare specific. For software devs, it validates your whole SDLC and operational security.
Okay, and a HIPAA audit.
That focuses laser sharp on the HIPAA privacy, security, and breach notification rules. Essential if you handle PHI, shows direct regulatory alignment. The process is often more prescriptive, looks at specific documentation, PHI-specific training, incident response, BAAs, alongside technical controls.
So lots of overlap access controls, encryption, monitoring, but SOC2 is broader, XPay is healthcare specific.
That's exactly. Market perception-wise, SOC2 is big for enterprise deals generally. ESOC2 is table stakes for healthcare contracts value. HIPAA 4 for regulatory needs, SOC2 for broader market trust.
Right, so a health analytics company might need both SOC2 for general enterprise clients, HIPAA-I assessment for hospitals.
Very common scenario. You can picture it as a Venn diagram. SOC2 circle, HIPAA-I circle, big overlap in the middle, labeled shared controls.
So beyond just saving time by doing them together, are there other, maybe less obvious benefits for a software vendor to pursue both SOC2 and HIPAA in a kind of harmonized way?
Definitely. Harmonizing controls means if your access management rocks for SOC2, it probably covers HIPAA too. Less duplication of effort.
Streamlines things.
Big time. And strategically, it positions you as a really mature, secure vendor. Appeals broader, meets specific needs. It becomes a competitive advantage, not just overhead.
Makes sense. Okay, last piece. Remediation planning. Audits find things. Always. How you fix them is key.
Crucial. It shows you're serious about improvement. Key steps. Prioritize findings, risk, impact, urgency. Develop an action plan. Clear corrective steps, technical changes, policy updates, whatever's needed.
Assign owners.
Absolutely. Ownership and timelines. Assign teams, set deadlines, integrate into your sprints, document everything, track progress, show auditors later. Verify and retest, make sure the fix worked. And communicate, keep stakeholders informed.
So if an audit finds, say, incomplete logging in your microservices,
You update the logging code, deploy it via CI/CD, retrain engineers, maybe update a standard. Then you give the auditors proof, new logs, change records, quick technical response.
got it. And thinking bigger picture, how can that remediation process, fixing today's gaps, also act as an early warning for maybe deeper issues, architectural flaws that could block innovation later?
That's the strategic view. Remediation isn't just patching holes. It's about building a stronger, more resilient company. Prompt, thorough responses show maturity.
Right.
And if you analyze trends and findings over time, maybe you keep having issues with access control and new services. That signals a potential systemic weakness in your architecture or dev process. Fixing that proactively, that's turning compliance into a driver for better security and innovation.
Right. It's not just compliance, it's continuous improvement.
Exactly. Building a more trustworthy, competitive organization. So we kind of wrap this all up. What we've really dug into today, that solid, dynamic documentation, the ongoing activities like internal audits and training, the robust third-party validation, it's not just about hitting high PFA requirements. It's really the pillars for building trust with your clients. It's about reducing your risk profile significantly. And ultimately, it supports real, sustainable growth in this demanding healthcare tech space. All these pieces working together. They reinforce compliance, market trust, and your overall resilience as an organization.
So what does this really mean for you listening in? The professional actually coding, managing, or leading these bespoke software projects. It means the stuff, documentation, audits, training, it isn't just for the compliance department anymore.
Not at all.
Every single developer, product manager, team lead involved with PHI needs to get this. Understanding it empowers you to build better, more secure products, to operate with more confidence, and frankly, to be more successful in a market that absolutely demands this level of trust and protection.
Well said. And maybe, just to leave everyone with something to chew on, given how fast tech changes, especially in bespoke development, how can your organization really foster a compliance-by-design culture?
Interesting.
One that naturally adapts to new threats, new regulations, instead of always feeling like you're playing catch-up.
That is a powerful question to ponder. How do you build it in from the start? Okay, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into mastering HIPAA compliance for software innovators. We really hope you take these insights and apply them in your work. Go build the future of healthcare tech securely and confidently.